Hey everyone, my name is Shauna Schultz. I'm the co-founder and executive producer at MassFX Media, co-founder of 38th and Post. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about our AI journey with our project where we're doing a tour of our office, but filling it with cats. I wanted to talk about the producer's perspective of AI. I have a bit of a hate relationship with AI right now. I know that we've lost jobs to it. There are a lot of people that have hired us in the past for scalable projects, for button pushing, for A/B testing projects that AI can now handle. And you don't need a team like mine, and you don't need to pay for the overhead. So those are gone, which is happens, right? It's a changing industry. But some of the things that we think about when we work in entertainment or we work for campaigns for brands are making sure that we have the rights to everything that we do. So if we're going to be creating something for our clients, we have to be able to promise that we made it and they can own it. With the advent of AI, it creates this huge gray area. So all of the software learning curves and other challenges aside that we're exploring in this series, I'm thinking about, do we even have permission to use what we create if we use AI to generate it? So back in June of 2025, I went to the Produced By conference, which is through the Producers Guild of America, of which I'm a member. And two of the sessions were specifically about AI. One of the sessions was called The Fine Print of AI, and it was all the legal. And as nerdy producers, the session was full. Everyone wanted to go to this session. We had the CEO of Revelations, Laurie McCreary, Morgan Freeman's production company, Kathleen Grace of Vermilio, which is an interesting firm, which we can talk about. And then Gaith Mahmood from Latham and Watkins, a lawyer ultimately who has been making a lot of changes to the contracts that he's writing for producers. So a lot of the things that this panel was thinking about is ownership and IP of, can you actually own what you're creating out of the AI? So at the beginning of the talk, one of the things that they redefined for us, which made me laugh, and then I'm going to put this on the video, and then later this will become super normal in all these contracts and stuff. We don't call them AI tools anymore. They're AI collaborators because there's some form of agency with the artificial intelligence and the way that the computer is collaborating with you to create something. They're not just a tool, it's a collaborator. I guess this is our brave new world. But also, when a filmmaker needs like a huge crowd of people or maybe like a bunch of zombies, now with generative AI, do you actually need to go and hire people, or can you just stick in a set of digital zombies? And we used to call those digital actors, which now they're called synthetic performers. So, just so you know, if you're going to be getting contracts and things like that, these are the new vocabulary that you need to know. I laughed at first when I heard those things, but I think we just all need to be paying attention because if that's the way we're going to think about the way these AI, not tools, collaborators work with us and how we litigate around them, it might change the conversation a little bit. Some of the big things that they had talked about when it comes to utilizing these collaborators, the AI collaborators, is making sure that the platforms that you're using, if you're wanting to license anything or have ownership over anything, you can't be on the free models. If you're on the premium models and the paid models, read the terms. This is not legal advice, but typically you're owning whatever gets generated out of there. Now, how much can you own it? Can you copyright it is another discussion that we'll talk about, but always make sure that if you're going to be using it for a paid project, you have to be on the paid version. You can't go back. So maybe you generated an image of a cat, for example, and you want to own that and put it into a video that you're going to sell or is going to be sold, or you have to have the rights to it. You can't go back and pay now and say, I want to own the thing I generated when I was on the free. You have to reprompt and get a new asset that was generated when you're on the premium or the paid version of it. So that's something to really think about is that if you're ever just playing, cool, play. But just know that you don't get those rights until you get into the other subscription levels. Also, if you want to try to regenerate, so let's say you made something and you did this set of cats and it was great and everything took off, and someone wants to buy this amazing video that you created, but you don't have any of the rights to it, you would have to go and pay for the platform again, try to regenerate under that. And of course, depending on which type of AI tool collaborator that you're using, you might not be able to recreate it. I think Comfy UI, some of the things that we learned about that is that you can hold it in the same model and then create the set of nodes that gets you what you're looking for. But we're still doing a lot of testing to see, like, if I took that model and put it on another computer, would it still generate the same thing, or have things changed enough that it won't generate the same image based on the set of prompts? If you're using other programs like Midjourney, Dolly, Sora, VO, these other generative AI tools, you're with the same prompt, you're going to get something different because those models are up in the servers and clouds. They're constantly evolving, they're constantly changing because people are using it and you're working off of that. So you might not be able to get the same thing. So can you own it? So that's one thing to think about when you're starting, is like you need to make sure that you're paying for it if you want to be able to own what's output. Another thing with that is to make sure that you document all of your prompts. If you're going to be creating things for clients, you want to be documenting what you did to get the outputs that you're looking for, because if you don't have that history, or it's been a while to come back to it, you're going to want to be able to prove that you prompted and got the thing that you got, right? So document all of your prompts for your learning and to just kind of CYA a little bit. When it comes to the terms that the AI platforms are giving you, uh, it of course varies, and this is not legal advice. You always need to read those terms and understand it before you move forward. So if you're going to be utilizing these tools for outputs that you want to own, make sure that you go through the different tiers of usage so that you can read those licenses and fully understand what you're getting permission for. Now, another thing to think about when you're choosing which AI platform to work with is protecting IP that you own. Most of the rights that you get are non-exclusive, where because you personally generated it, doesn't mean you only own it, but both of you own it. So the AI company also owns what you've created and can do things with it. It's not exclusive. Depending on what tier you're on, you can read through that and make sure that if you might want to be exclusive. But then, that brings up a lot of other questions of what are you creating, which we'll talk about copyright next. But anything that you're putting into the AI tool, the AI collaborator, I'm gonna get used to that, maybe. Anything that you're putting into it, if you own it, once you've entered it into the platform, they own it too. They can train off of it. So if you created a design style for a character that you love and you want to keep working with, and you're going to use the tool to replicate and you're going to train your model, just read the fine print, because that AI tool might be saying, hey, if you put it in here, we're going to train other things and other people can use it. So you want to be careful with that and think about, are you using something like Comfy UI that you can use inside of a closed system and not share with all the other users? Or are you using something like with Gemini, when you're uploading things, look at the terms for that. Does that particular platform now have permission to train on your IP? So that's something else to think about, which is that going to be a huge issue for you if you're doing one little character? I don't know, but maybe if you're Disney, you care about that. Hence the lawsuit that's happening right now. So another thing that producers are often worried about is also the indemnity clauses of, are you going to hold me accountable? A lot of the AI platforms are changing these clauses to say, we'll have your back. We believe that what we've trained on and the way that we've made the models create original outputs that you can own and use depending on what tier you're in. We believe that enough that if you're going to get sued, we'll have the indemnification clause where it can come back to us as the generative AI provider. Uh, but the dilemma that producers are now in are that if you take that output exactly as is and you use it in something, you get sued. Well, now they've got your back. But you can't own that. You can't copyright something that has been generated with an AI collaborator. If you haven't changed it at all, you cannot copyright it because copyright, it's human creativity is one of the pieces that allows you to copyright something. So you as the human created something, so you as the human can own it. If it's an exact output from AI, well, you can't own that, but you're now protected. So how do you own it? Well, the Copyright Office is still figuring this out and making rules and probably changing this a month from when I recorded this. But right now, one of the things that they decided is that you can't own an AI image that was generated that you didn't modify, but you could modify it and make it your own. So as long as you, as the human creator, have made it your own, now you can own it. Now you can copyright it. Now it's your IP. But guess what? If you get sued, the AI company is going to say, nope, that didn't come out of here. You modified it. So the question is, would you like to own the output or would you like to be safe for using the output? Are kind of the two big, the dilemma that we're up against as producers. So the Copyright Office would say that in order to be able to copyright something, there needs to be sufficient human control over the expressive elements of that output. So now you can use that. Sound real smart. So you can't copyright the generated output from an AI platform itself because of the insufficient human control over the expressive elements. However, they will let you copyright a collection of generated elements. So, like you've used AI to generate the images for a comic book, you've written a story, maybe you've used AI to do that, but the collection, the comic book that you created, that can be copyrighted. So you can't own every image in it and every character and trademark those things or copyright those things, but you could own and copyright the whole collection of things, which I thought that was an interesting caveat to the way to think about it. The other thing is if you made a curated selection of generated images, that can be copyrighted. Interesting. And we're a small company, we've only got about a dozen people on staff. We have to hire on contractors when we need to scale up. Maybe we've got a couple films rolling at the same time. Maybe there's just a particularly large project, or we need a set of experts that can only do one particular thing. So we're bringing on contractors. So, as an owner of a production company, the other thing you have to think about, not just am I doing right by my clients and am I legally able to pass them the rights to the things that we create? But when I'm not just using staff, but I'm bringing on subcontractors, can they give me all the rights to what they're creating? Are they being honest about whether they're creating it or they're using generative AI to create it? So, some of the things that are now recommended are to make sure that in your contracts with your subcontractors, you have to contractually require them to disclose where they've used AI and tell you what subscription they had, what platform it was. You might even go as far to say what prompts did you use it, but right now it's kind of the Wild West. And until some of these lawsuits that I feel are kind of making an example of this moment, until those lawsuits come through and we find out what's going to happen with it, we can't really know what's safe or not. And then the last thing that they talked about was for you, if you have a lot of content and you're willing to sell it to AI platforms and tools and collaborators to use and train on IP that you own as a producer or production company, you can do that now. There might be a way to make money that way. A lot of, so say, we're a documentary company. We've worked on docs and we traveled to a lot of places. And while we are there, we just shot a lot of footage of the landscape and other things. So we've got a lot of visuals from all over the world. Maybe an AI platform wants to train on that so that they can create different countries and different locations. So I, as a production company, could sell them that footage. Right now, a lot of them are like, we'll give you a flat rate. But when you think about that, that's not totally fair because the models are going to train on your IP. And if you get paid one time, you get paid one time. But if they're going to make money off of the data that was used to train the model for the next 10 years, you should get a part of that. So the company like Vermilio, which was one of the speakers in this panel, talked about how do you have an audit in that sale so that you can see when your IP is used with the model. So that's what they do. They're an audit partner. They would say don't take a flat deal. You can actually license what you're giving to them and then say every time it gets used in the model, um, we get a cent or whatever it is, right? And then every little tiny cent adds up eventually, as they say. So basically, what one of these audit partners are doing is they're going to be the middle company between you and the AI platform or the AI company, and they're going to take your data, create little tags on it, we'll say, and little identifiers so that anytime that it's used in the model, it can be tracked and sent back, and we can understand that 10,000 times this particular IP was accessed, you get this amount of money for that many times, and you can continue to make money off of providing that IP for that company until they stop using your IP. A lot of these companies have run out of data, and eventually we're going to run out of real data, and the entire internet and everything's going to be filled with AI created data, what's real, what's not. Right now, it's valuable to have the real footage when it comes to the training these generative AI models, real images, real footage, real voices, all of that. Knowing that, you might have an opportunity. Two of the licenses that you can give. So, one is a training license. So, if you own your own data, you can sell it to AI companies. And that's where these, audit companies would say, don't take a one-time check, use it for long-term income. So that's an interesting new space to spread out if you have a lot of content and IP that you just own within your company. Um, then the other side of it is the display license. So there's the training license that you can train the model on it and create things based on those styles or images. But the display license is, can we use the actual visuals based on your IP? So that's what this lawsuit is about right now with Disney, is they're basically saying, maybe you didn't train on our copyrighted material, maybe, but your platform is generating copyrighted material that's our IP. So if Genie from Aladdin is being able to be punched out of your software, and you're telling your users that they own an image that actually Disney owns, that's a problem. So AI company, don't have a display license for our IP. So those are the two different things of a training license and then a display license, all things that these generative AI companies are having to deal with right now and figure out right now and hoping they don't get sued for right now, which as creators, we need to keep an eye on and make sure that you're not creating stuff that you don't actually own, or a little bit later, after lawsuits and other things, it's going to turn out you don't own, but you think you do. And when it comes to my clients and the work that we do, it is a little wild westy for me to really confidently be able to say that, yeah, team, go ahead and generate stuff, and then we're going to sell it to our clients and promise them that they can own it. For us, we're definitely taking that on the very, very cautious side and continuing to just create our own work. This project, though, herding these cats around our office, I think is an interesting foray into us as professionals saying, fine, we'll test out these tools. Some of the conversations that we had early on were like, we could literally do it faster than trying to generate all this, what feels like roulette to get what we're looking for. I could just make it. But what we're learning is where are the places that it could speed up the process. So for us to just make it, where are the places that it can inspire us? I think, there's a lot that we're learning that we didn't realize we could do with these tools through this process that I'm excited to continue to explore. But my job and my producing team's job is going to be to make sure that we can own it and we can promise our clients that we're not going to create a situation where they're going to have a major lawsuit on their hands. Those are just kind of my thoughts as a producer. I thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about. Drop a comment, hit me up on LinkedIn if you want to chat further. I think this is a fascinating part of the way our industry is going. I think there's a lot of pain around it. It feels like publicly there's a lot of excitement, but behind the scenes, it's got a lot of people worried. And that's what big seismic shifts do to industries. And this isn't the first time it's ever happened to humanity. This is just a really unique, very fast moving shift. So, how do we keep up? How do you keep up? I'd love to hear about it. Thanks so much.